in the PR stories, he said, here it was, I got ate up alive over my birthday weekend, and the whole while there was nothing wrong with Tamar's ass. Now she done released this Tired A music video for this raggedy EP that don't nobody want. And because I'm in the video, people are going to think I was part of the PR stunt. I was collateral damage for a 2-bit PR stunt.
What if I told you that one Instagram post from Tamar Braxton shook the whole city of Atlanta, dragged Funky Dineva into a storm he didn't create, pulled mendeecees Harris out of his marriage with Yandy Smith, and forced Tasha K to jump in and pick a side? This isn't just a story about missing teeth or a pool of blood. This is about betrayal, silence, secrets, and 5 names you can't escape: Tamar Braxton, Funky Dineva, mendeecees Harris, Yandy Smith, and Tasha K. And once you hear how these names connect, you won't be able to stop watching, because every second brings a new twist.
In what world do people have emergencies at home and they run to the internet and that's their first? Oh my God, guys, I had a medical emergency. I woke up in a pool of blood. Let me go post it to the internet to stir up all this damn frenzy and then leave people with no details.
Atlanta doesn't just thrive on drama. Atlanta breeds drama. Atlanta feeds on drama. And Atlanta never forgets a scandal, especially when it carries names like Tamar Braxton, Funky Dineva, mendeecees Harris, Yandy Smith, and Tasha K. This time, the noise started the second Tamar Braxton pressed post on her phone, and within minutes, her words set the internet on fire. She wrote that she had lost 4 teeth, that she woke up in a pool of blood, that she had fractured her nose, and immediately her fans, the Tamarians, went into prayer mode, lighting candles, singing hymns, asking God to protect Tamar Braxton. But at the same time, the gossip blogs replayed her words again and again, asking the question nobody could answer: what really happened to Tamar Braxton? And as that question echoed louder, another name got dragged in: Funky Dineva. Suddenly, the story wasn't just about Tamar Braxton, it was about Funky Dineva, and how his name got caught in a storm he didn't create. While Tamar Braxton stayed silent, Funky Dineva was dragged online, accused of being a fake friend, accused of setting her up, accused of things he swore he never did. And the silence of Tamar Braxton only made it worse, because when the world saw Tamar Braxton not defending Funky Dineva, they assumed there must be truth in the rumors. That's when Funky Dineva snapped. That's when Funky Dineva made it clear that if Tamar Braxton didn't clear his name, he would expose everything he knew.
She can just write, "I love you, Funky Dineva." That would just clear the air. Let people know I didn't do nothing to you. Not that I honestly think any reasonable person thought that I did something to you anyway, but still. And then in the midst of your recovery, you gonna drop the music video to further make it look like all of this was a stunt. Oh, no ma'am, no ma'am, no ma'am. I'm not participating in that.
But the scandal didn't just stop with Tamar Braxton and Funky Dineva. The internet started whispering about mendeecees Harris, because out of all the men Tamar Braxton could have chosen to star in her project, she chose mendeecees Harris, and choosing mendeecees Harris means dragging in Yandy Smith, because mendeecees Harris is Yandy Smith's husband. The blogs asked why Tamar Braxton would even put herself in that position, why mendeecees Harris would be at her after party, and why rumors were flying that mendeecees Harris was at Tamar Braxton's house at 3 in the morning. The repetition of these names made the scandal impossible to ignore. Tamar Braxton, Funky Dineva, mendeecees Harris, Yandy Smith, and then came Tasha K., who jumped into the fire, defending Tamar Braxton and telling Funky Dineva to shut up. That only made things messier, because once Tasha K. is involved, the mess grows legs. What made it worse was that instead of explaining, Tamar Braxton leaned into confusion. She posted cryptic captions like "never going back to what I grew from." Instead of simply saying "leave Funky Dineva alone, he had nothing to do with this." While Funky Dineva begged for clarity, while Funky Dineva was being destroyed online, Tamar Braxton said nothing, and that silence felt like betrayal. Funky Dineva told his side. He said Tamar Braxton had used him as a pawn, that he found out about her hospital post the same way everyone else did, that he had no clue what actually happened, and that all he asked was for Tamar Braxton to clear his name. But instead of defending him, Tamar Braxton let him drown. That's why Funky Dineva went live. That's why Funky Dineva gave an ultimatum. That's why Funky Dineva repeated again and again that he had receipts, that he knew secrets, that he wasn't going to be collateral damage. And the more Funky Dineva spoke, the more the questions turned toward mendeecees Harris and Yandy Smith. Why was mendeecees Harris in the video at all? Why was Mendeecees Harris chosen as the love interest? Why wasn't Yandy Smith at the after party if her husband was? And why was Mendeecees Harris allegedly in Tamar Braxton's house? The names repeated. The questions repeated and the silence stayed. That's when Tasha K stepped back in, saying Tamar Braxton's injuries were real, saying this wasn't fake, saying Funky Dineva was wrong. But if Tamar Braxton's injuries were real, then why didn't she explain how she lost her teeth? Why didn't she explain how she fractured her nose? Why didn't she explain why she was found by a friend but refused to say who that friend was? Every time Tamar Braxton avoided the truth, the internet filled in the blanks. And the blanks always pointed back to Mendeecees Harris, Yandy Smith, and Funky Dineva. The brilliance and the madness of this mess is that all the names keep looping like a broken record. Tamar Braxton, victim or mastermind, Funky Dineva, friend or pawn? Mendeecees Harris, co-star or complication, Yandy Smith, silent wife or silent witness, Tasha K, defender or instigator. The more these names repeat, the more the story sticks and the more people can't look away. That's why the scandal has stretched for weeks. That's why it keeps coming back. That's why every time Tamar Braxton posts a caption, every time Funky Dineva goes live, every time Tasha K comments, every time Mendeecees Harris is spotted, every time Yandy Smith refuses to speak, the internet reopens the wound. And until Tamar Braxton explains who was there, what happened, and why Funky Dineva was left to be dragged, this story won't die. Because names like Tamar Braxton, Funky Dineva, Mendeecees Harris, Yandy Smith, and Tasha K don't fade, they repeat, they echo, they haunt the culture until the truth comes out. The silence from Tamar Braxton was louder than any scream because the longer Tamar Braxton refused to defend Funky Dineva, the more the internet convinced itself that Funky Dineva must have done something wrong. But the truth, at least according to Funky Dineva, was the complete opposite. Funky Dineva said he was blindsided, that he learned about the accident the same time as everyone else, that he was dragged for something he didn't do, and that Tamar Braxton allowed him to take the hits while she hid behind cryptic posts. And in the background, the shadow of Mendeecees Harris grew larger, because every question led back to why Mendeecees Harris was in the middle of the story, why Mendeecees Harris was in the video, why Mendeecees Harris was allegedly at the after party, and why Mendeecees Harris was rumored to be in Tamar Braxton's house late at night. And if Mendeecees Harris was there, then where was Yandy Smith? Why wasn't Yandy Smith part of the picture? Why wasn't Yandy Smith defending her husband? Why wasn't Yandy Smith clearing the air? The names repeated over and over, and every repetition made the scandal stronger. Tamar Braxton, Funky Dineva, Mendeecees Harris, Yandy Smith, Tasha K, because then came Tasha K, storming into the mess like only Tasha K can. Tasha K told Funky Dineva to stop, told Funky Dineva that Tamar Braxton's accident was real, told the world that this wasn't a PR stunt. But if Tasha K was so sure, then why didn't Tamar Braxton say the same thing? Why didn't Tamar Braxton take 1 minute to clear Funky Dineva's name? Why didn't Tamar Braxton explain who was the friend that found her bleeding? Why didn't Tamar Braxton explain why Mendeecees Harris was called her friend? In all caps in her promo, the mystery fed the chaos and the chaos fed the blogs. By staying silent, Tamar Braxton kept the spotlight on Funky Dineva, on Mendeecees Harris, on Yandy Smith, and on Tasha K. Every time Tamar Braxton avoided the real answers, people filled in the blanks themselves, and the blanks always turned into more gossip, more drama, more suspicion. Funky Dineva repeated again and again that he was not the villain, that he was the one betrayed, that Tamar Braxton's refusal to defend him was the real problem. Funky Dineva said he had protected Tamar Braxton for years, that he had stayed quiet on secrets, that he had looked the other way on messy choices, but this time, when his own reputation was under attack, Tamar Braxton left him hanging. That's why Funky Dineva said he had receipts. That's why Funky Dineva threatened to let the chopper sing. Because in his mind, loyalty had to be repaid and silence was betrayal. And in the middle of all this, the blogs whispered again about Mendeecees Harris. Because whether Mendeecees Harris did something wrong or not, the fact that Mendeecees Harris was in the orbit of Tamar Braxton at the very moment of her accident made the story impossible to ignore. Why was Mendeecees Harris there? Why wasn't Yandy Smith there? Why did Tamar Braxton call Mendeecees Harris her friend? The names stacked on top of each other like bricks, building a wall of confusion that only got taller every day. And then came the contradiction. Tamar Braxton denied faking her accident. Tamar Braxton said she really was injured. Tamar Braxton said she would never fake pain for promo. But the timing was suspicious. Tamar Braxton's accident happened right when her EP was about to drop, right when her heartbreak story was being packaged into music, right when her project needed buzz. That's why the internet didn't believe her. That's why the internet said this was all staged. That's why the internet refused to let go of Funky Dineva, Mendeecees Harris, Yandy Smith, and Tasha K, because when you repeat the names Tamar Braxton, Funky Dineva, Mendeecees Harris, Yandy Smith, Tasha K, the scandal doesn't end. It grows, it mutates, it takes on a life of its own. And that's what makes this mess feel endless. Because no matter how much Tamar Braxton says she's moving on, no matter how much Funky Dineva says he's done, no matter how much Tasha K insists she's telling the truth, no matter how much Mendeecees Harris stays silent, no matter how much Yandy Smith avoids the spotlight, the repetition of names keeps dragging them back into the fire. The viewers remember Tamar Braxton as the one who cried pool of blood. They remember Funky Dineva as the one accused of being a bad friend. They remember Mendeecees Harris as the one rumored to be in her house. They remember Yandy Smith as the wife who said nothing, and they remember Tasha K as the one who stirred the pot. And until Tamar Braxton finally clears the fog, until Tamar Braxton names who really found her, until Tamar Braxton tells the truth about who was in her house, this scandal will keep spinning. And the names Tamar Braxton, Funky Dineva, Mendeecees Harris, Yandy Smith, and Tasha K will keep repeating like a drumbeat, pulling the audience deeper and deeper into the chaos. By the time the dust seemed ready to settle, the names Tamar Braxton, Funky Dineva, Mendeecees Harris, Yandy Smith, and Tasha K were already stamped into every headline, every group chat, every YouTube comment section, and every blog post, proving that this wasn't just another small scandal, this was a saga. And at the center of it, Tamar Braxton kept dancing around clarity, refusing to directly defend Funky Dineva, refusing to explain why Mendeecees Harris was in her orbit, refusing to say why Yandy Smith had stayed so quiet, and letting Tasha K's words become her shield. The public begged for answers, but every time Tamar Braxton spoke, the answers got messier. One minute Tamar Braxton said it was the worst heartbreak she had ever known. The next minute Tamar Braxton insisted it wasn't about anyone's husband. And the next minute Tamar Braxton was promoting her EP like nothing had happened. Meanwhile, Funky Dineva refused to let go because to him the betrayal cut deeper than any gossip. Funky Dineva repeated that all he ever wanted was for Tamar Braxton to clear his name. Funky Dineva repeated that he was collateral damage. Funky Dineva repeated that he had been dragged for something he didn't do. And when Tamar Braxton finally tagged him with a half-hearted post saying she loved him, Funky Dineva made it clear that it was too late because silence had already done the damage. And the questions about Mendeecees Harris kept echoing louder. Why was Mendeecees Harris called friend in capital letters by Tamar Braxton when nobody had ever seen them together before? Why did Mendeecees Harris accept a role in Tamar Braxton's video, knowing it would look messy? Why wasn't Yandy Smith standing beside Mendeecees Harris if everything was innocent? And why did Yandy Smith stay silent even when the blogs dragged her name into the mud? Every time fans repeated the names Tamar Braxton, Mendeecees Harris, Yandy Smith, the story grew more suspicious. And with Tasha K defending Tamar Braxton so hard, people began to wonder if Tasha K was protecting the truth or protecting the mess. Because when Tasha K is loud, she's never just loud for no reason. She's loud to push the story where she wants it to go, and the louder Tasha K got, the more people suspected there was still something being hidden about Tamar Braxton, Mendeecees Harris, and even Yandy Smith. In the end, the scandal left scars on every name involved. Tamar Braxton now carries the reputation of someone who might mix heartbreak with headline stunts. Funky Dineva now carries the image of a friend who refuses to be silent when thrown under the bus. Mendeecees Harris now carries the suspicion of being in places and situations that don't belong to a married man. Yandy Smith now carries the weight of silence that fans interpret as guilt. And Tasha K now carries the badge of stirring a pot that was already boiling. The repetition of names, Tamar Braxton, Funky Dineva, Mendeecees Harris, Yandy Smith, Tasha K, is exactly why this story will not die, because every time someone hears those names, the memory of this chaos returns. Every time someone repeats those names, the scandal lives again. And until Tamar Braxton tells the full story, until Funky Dineva decides whether to spill all or hold back, until Mendeecees Harris and Yandy Smith explain their roles, until Tasha K stops spinning her side, the truth will remain buried under layers of silence, suspicion, and speculation. The culture has already locked in these names. The blogs have already carved them into the narrative. And the fans have already made up their minds. This isn't just gossip. This is history written in repetition. Tamar Braxton, Funky Dineva, Mendeecees Harris, Yandy Smith, and Tasha K, tied together forever in one of the messiest, most unforgettable scandals Atlanta has ever seen.